Prologue. The war with the monstrous Reapers was over, and they had lost. The moment Commander Shepard triggered the Crucible, their fate was sealed. For every star system that was infested with Reapers, and for every mass relay that was proximity of the infestation, the Reapers could not hide from their own finality. Now the galaxy can start to recover, and like the legends of the Phoenix, a new civilization will rise from the ashes. The broken and burnt-out remains of the Colossus Citadel hung in stationary orbit over Earth. The once shining jewel of the galaxy is nothing more than a shadow of its former and glorious self. What remains of the Fifth Fleet stand guard over the ruined citadel like a watchdog, while search and rescue teams looked for any survivors on the citadel, if any at all. If there weren't, then their bodies would be collected, identified, and respectfully handed over to their next of kin. The lead vessel was an Alliance dreadnought called the Kilimanjaro. Battled, scarred, and weary, she had performed the impossible during their conflict with the dreaded Reapers. To know how the Kilimanjaro, her crew, and indeed her commanding officer achieved the impossible, we would need to go back in time, a week before the final conflict with the Reapers. Chapter 1. Last Resort. It felt good for Hannah Shepard to be back in command of her old vessel. Even if it is only temporary, she remembered her former commanding officer and friend, Captain Samuel Richards. She recalled the day she was promoted to captain, Richards handing over her captain's stripes in the command of the Kilimanjaro. They stood on the bridge of the Alliance dreadnought and shook hands.
"Congratulations, Captain Shepard. The Kilimanjaro is yours. Take good care of her, Hannah."
"Thank you, Admiral. I will—"
Hannah smiled. Now that she was an admiral, command of the Kilimanjaro fell to her former first officer, Captain Eric Valentine, and she hoped to make the Kilimanjaro her flagship when the war was over. That's, of course, if they all survived. Admiral Hannah Shepard is a slim build, woman in her late 50s, standing about 5'8" in height, Caucasian, blue eyes, and shoulder-length gray hair tied back into a ponytail. She was in her quarters, sitting behind her desk and going over battle plans, hoping that there might be a plan that could give them an advantage. At this time, even a small one would help, but the result would be the same. The Kilimanjaro and the Fifth Fleet would be destroyed. She sat back in her chair and sighed noisily in frustration. The last thing she wanted to do was to get her crew killed. There had to be another way. Just then, there was a knock at her door.
"Enter."
The door slides open, and two of her crew entered. The first crew member was the Kilimanjaro's chief engineer, Lieutenant Jason Conrad. He was in his 30s, medium build, with very short brown hair and blue eyes. The second member wasn't human. He was wearing the familiar environmental suit of a Quarian. Zane was on board the Kilimanjaro as part of an exchange program with the Quarians, and the Admiral had found him most helpful.
"I hope we are not disturbing you, Admiral."
"Actually, I'm glad you're here. I need a break from looking at how many ways the Kilimanjaro can be destroyed."
"No luck, then?"
"None, and I'm out of options. Our mission is to hold off the Reapers long enough for the Crucible to dock with the Citadel, and for it do what it's supposed to do. But I like to be able to get my ship and crew out of the mix in one piece."
Conrad glanced at the Quarian.
"Zane might have something that could help, but it's a last resort move."
"Huh. I think we're already at that stage, don't you? But let's hear it."
Zane laid out his plan to her.
The Kilimanjaro was not long been fitted with 4 forward Thanix cannons, was it not?
"Yes, but they don't have the power to be effective against a Reaper capital ship."
Then we need to borrow the extra power for them to be effective.
"From where?"
We use the Reaper's own strength against it.
Hannah looked puzzled.
"And how do you plan to do that?"
If we remodulate the Kilimanjaro's barriers and we allow the Reaper's beam weapon to hit them."
Hannah quickly interrupted him, not quite believing what he was suggesting.
"Wait a minute. Let me get this right. We allow the Reaper's beam weapon to hit us?"
She thought that they had gone completely insane. To allow the Kilimanjaro to be struck by a very powerful and destructive weapon as a Reaper beam weapon is insanity.
"If we time it right, the extra power will triple the barrier's output and strength. It would be more than enough to hold it back for the short time we need."
Hannah was liking this even less.
"Short time for what?"
It will take about 1 minute for the Kilimanjaro's barriers to absorb enough energy so it can be redirected through all 4 cannons and back at the Reaper.
Hannah was skeptical.
That's a lot of raw power we'll be pumping into our systems. Will we be able to withstand that much power? And would it be enough to do any damage to a Reaper vessel?
We will blow out some of our systems, but I can ensure that critical systems won't be affected. As for effectiveness, it should be sufficient to severely damage or destroy a Reaper capital ship.
Hannah was still not sure of this plan.
A lot could happen in just 1 minute.
Admiral, granted it's risky, but it's the only plan we have that could even remotely help us defend the Crucible.
Hannah sighed as she tried to take in everything that was discussed, and to come to a decision, she finally did.
Very well. Start making preparations and keep me apprised in your progress.
Aye, aye, Admiral.
She nodded her head slowly.
You are both dismissed.
Conrad saluted, and both left Hannah's quarters, leaving her wondering if she had made the right choice. She would find out very soon.